What if I was to tell you that there's no right and wrong way? That that's just a socially constructed concept that we've been taught to use? What if I was to tell you that every way that you choose to go and every decision that you choose to make is the right way? Some choices or decisions that we make are meant to teach us what we don't want. They're meant to show us what is not aligned. They're meant to show us what isn't so that we can see what is. This idea that you can make a wrong or a right decision or a good or a bad decision comes from this idea that we have to be perfect, and that if you're perfect, then you won't make a wrong decision. You won't make a bad decision. But sorry to be the spoiler here, perfection does not exist. We come to this earth plane to learn. I'm sure many of you have heard the idea of Earth School, right? To learn for soul expansion. And so, with that concept or belief in mind, there is no right or wrong way. Yes, you can prolong your timeline to your highest timeline. You can put things off in ways, but the truth is that if you made a choice or decision at a point in time, there was a reason that you made that point or decision choice. And there was actually something that you were meant to learn by making that choice that you had not learned yet. And until you had learned the lesson, you would continue to make that choice. So, this story that we tell ourselves, where there's good and bad and right and wrong, is just a story. And many stories affect the way that we behave, the way that we believe, the way that we think, the way that we move through the world. And for many of us, these stories are so unconscious and out of our awareness that we are just running cycle through them on a day to day basis without even realizing it. That is until you begin to awaken. And once you begin to awaken, the things that have become unconscious start to become conscious in a way that you were not able to be aware of previously. And what's coming through with this is that you couldn't have become conscious of these things previously to the moment that you became conscious of them. And the reasoning is that there are certain lessons and cycles that you need to move through, learn from, and get through before you can receive other lessons and move into other cycles. And so there's no way that you could have gotten to this point before you did. And this is why in the spiritual community, they talk a lot about the idea of everything happens for a reason. Because the choices that you make and the decisions that you make happen for a reason that is not always in your awareness, but as you awaken more, becomes more in your awareness. And so there's no such thing as a wrong choice or a wrong decision. There's an opportunity to learn. That's it. It's just an opportunity for you to learn. And sometimes you're learning what you don't prefer, but But that's so that you can learn what you do prefer. Sometimes we need to step off the path to find the path, to know where the path is, right? And so I just think it's so important to recognize that every choice and every decision happens for a purpose. And there's always something that you can learn from those things. One of my clients is so funny. She's coming through right now. And when we meet and she talks about some of the things she's learning, she's like, I always hear you in the back of my head, Crystal, saying, what is this trying to teach you? And that is how I move through my life personally, is what lesson is this trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn here? Right? And I just think there's something really beautiful about that. And I think that, there's really this idea that you can notice magic in the moments and start to become so present from moment to moment to moment when you kind of look at life from that perspective. Not why is this happening to me, right? We're not in a victim mindset. Victim mindset would also be things are good or bad, right? Black and white thinking, victim mindset. But instead, what is this trying to teach me? What can I learn from this? I just think that's so much more valuable. And even when I speak it out loud, it feels different in my body. One feels shameful, one feels yucky, the other feels open, the other feels curious. And we are meant to move through this life with curiosity so that we can find our true path forward. I'm just like seeing like how two roads diverged in the yellow wood. Sorry, I could not travel both, but be a traveler once I stood, something like that, right? Um, but until you can be curious and open minded, you're not even going to be able to see that other path and that it's there and that it exists. The only way for you to be able to see the other option is for you to be able to align with your thoughts to that option existing, right? So if we're in this victim mentality or victim mindset of things are good or bad, we're not open to the idea that this other path might be available and might bring me somewhere else positive, right? Because we're just assuming it's negative. So that halts and closes off all the doors to that other path being something of growth, being something of healing, being something of learning. The wisest people in the world know that they know nothing. It's one of my favorite sayings because the truth is that we're all learning. We're all in the process of learning all the time. Some of us more open to the idea of learning than others. Some of us more closed minded to the idea, right? But when you're open to the idea of learning, then you have new experiences on a regular basis. Every day is new, every day is exciting, every day can bring something beautiful. Miracles exist. But only if you can come from that perspective that there's so much to learn and we're never going to learn it all, right? I also think that keeps you very humble and modest, in my personal opinion, too. Where when you can come from that mentality or you can come from that way of thinking, that it helps you to develop further than you ever possibly could have believed you would be able to develop. because you understand that there's so many complexities to things and there's so much to learn that you can never learn or know it all. So you're always open to understanding. You're always curious to wanting to know. This also, I think, helps you to be more accepting of people and the different personalities that exist and the different ways that people move through the world and why and all of those things, right? When you're able to recognize that there is no wrong way, there is no wrong choice, you're able to acknowledge that everything can be accepted if we choose to. And acceptance is at the base of joy, it's at the base of happiness. It's kind of our detriment as humans is that we struggle to accept things for what they are. We'd rather hold on to an idea of what was rather than accept what is. And that's where most of our distress comes from. It's most of our pain points, to be honest. When you can accept things for what they are without judgment, with a curious and open mind, you just experience the world in a such different way. It's a completely different way of living your life. It's a completely different way of moving through your life. There's just something so magical about it and so beautiful. But it's one of the hardest things that we struggle with is just accepting things for what they are and letting them be what they are without judgment, without beating ourselves up, without shame, without guilt. But when you can truly just accept things for what they are, I'm seeing like someone taking off a backpack. There's a backpack of burden that can be released. There's a pressure and heaviness that you can let go of. And this is kind of, you know, what it means to just learn to be, learning to just go with flow, learning to unapologetically be authentic in your flow and your stillness. This is surrender. Surrender at the base of it is acceptance. And maybe there are some things that you don't prefer, but instead of judging those things or focusing on those things, it's about focusing on what you do prefer in that moment, what you do enjoy in that moment. That takes away so much of our power and time too, and our energy is that over focus on what's not working, that overly focused thought process on the problem, right? That's not surrender. That's not acceptance. We do that in a way to try to fix it. We do that in a way to try to understand it, right? And all that does is take away our energy. It takes away our life force energy. It takes away our ability to accept. It takes away our ability to be present. Overly thinking and overly trying to understand and overly trying to intellectualize only removes us from being here and now. And it's just another way that we run from ourselves. We lack acceptance. It's just interesting to me today because it feels like I am feeling such a deep surrender today, a deep release. And what comes with that is a releasing of expectations, a releasing of, beliefs about how something should turn out or what it should produce or anything like that. And instead, just moving from a place of pure excitement and joy and what feels good for me right now in this exact moment. And that's what true surrender feels like. It's not about overthinking, it's about just following through and doing and enjoying as you go and figuring out as you go, right? We're talking about flow and letting that be okay and enough. Not needing to know what's happening next, but just knowing right now and just letting the universe guide you as you move through your life and your day. And there's just something really calming and beautiful about that and freeing because there is no expectation that you're putting on yourself in those moments. You're just letting yourself free flow. It's so much easier said than done. And I'm thinking about like how, people even struggle to do that when it comes to writing, like free flow. And I think personally, this is a skill I've worked on for a really long time in many different ways. And over time, I've built off of it and built off of it and built off of it to be able to get to this point. And some days are easier than others. I'm not going to deny that. But true surrender, true freedom is just accepting what is, not judging, not labeling, not naming. That's something that we do societally. And it's a part of what you have to unlearn to get to the point of true surrender, to get to the point of true flow. You have to unlearn a lot of the things that you learned growing up on how to categorize and understand the world, because that doesn't actually work when you are trying to live your life in flow and surrender. I think that that's the message. So, if you are interested in receiving some help or guidance in flow surrender, how to start doing that for yourself, maybe I can help you with where you're at on your path and in your phase and help you start moving towards that, how to build that. You can take a look at my bio. I have spiritual guided sessions, I have psychic sessions, psychic reading sessions. I also offer embodiment coaching. And I hope that one day we're all able to find this level of peace and comfort within ourselves. It would make the world such a beautiful place. I love you all. Have a great day.